back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about how I started my photography business. And I would have to say the number one question probably that I get asked is how to start a photography business. I know you guys probably might think it might be, what camera do I use? Which is a very common question as well. But I find that a lot of people who are really struggling with knowing what to do, I guess in the sense of starting a photography business, a lot of people do struggle with that fact, and there are so many different things to consider when you are starting your photography business. So I wanted to give a rundown today on how I started from scratch with all the nitty-gritty details, and then how I moved along genuinely through my process of my business. And I want to give a little bit of a flow-on effect, so I want to start at the beginning, tell you guys the details of what I did to start my business, then go on to talk about a little bit more in the sense of how I started earning money, and then how I started charging more, and then where I'm at today with it. So I hope you guys really enjoy the video, and I hope that there's a lot of information that you can take out of it.
Before we get into the video today, I'd like to thank this video's sponsors, and that is Next Insurance. So as a small business owner, I think we can all agree on the fact that sometimes insurance can be quite a hassle to organise, and it can be a little bit overwhelming at times. However, Next Insurance have made this really easy by being completely online. Their founders have also started their own businesses, so they know the struggle and they know what it's like, and they want to help other business owners by making their life easier when it does come to insurance. The best thing about Next Insurance is that they're 100% online. The sign-up process is easy, quick, and can be done at any stage, anywhere. Quotes, changes, and claim filing is all done online, so it will save you a lot of time and energy. They also have tailored coverage with over 1,000 types of businesses with customized coverage plans to meet your exact needs and risks. They also have affordable and fair pricing, convenient payment plans, no additional or hidden fees, and that means you'll only pay for what you need. They're live online and always have an accessible certificate of insurance, and that helps a lot when you easily want to show off your proof of insurance with just a few clicks. If you'd like to get your own quote with Next Insurance, there is a link in the description box below that you can click, and it's as easy as typing in your occupation and then clicking Get Quote Online.
So I really want to start off with the basics of how I started my photography business first today, and I want to tell you guys a bit about some of the nitty-gritty details, like I said before, that I had to really get out of the way first before I could go on to the creative stuff and actually getting my business moving. So my story with starting my business is a bit of a complicated one. So starting back to when I was, I think, 16, I did some assistant work, freelance assistant work for a wedding photographer. So I actually had an Australian business number back then when I started doing that. And an ABN is basically like a tracking number for your business, and it allows you to earn money under that business number. So it's something that is a requirement for all Australian businesses. You do need an ABN. I'm not 100% sure about overseas. I'm assuming that there's something similar that you probably need to look into in terms of getting your own number for your business. So in getting my ABN, I've had it for quite a while now, since I think around 2007, 2008. So that was something that I already had when I did go to start my own photography business. So that was the first nitty-gritty detail that I needed to get out of the way. However, before any of that started, before I started my business, before I looked at anything in detail, I had already started a portfolio full of trade for print work, which was basically like free work on collaboration basis with other creatives through sites like Model Mayhem. I did that for quite a few years before I ever started earning money from photography. And I really wanted to have that portfolio there because I felt more confident in asking basically for people's money at that point. If you've got more of a portfolio, if you've got work to show for yourself, then that really does instill confidence in you to be able to charge for photo shoots. I feel like if I didn't have any TFP work behind me at that stage, it would have been very difficult for me to even get clients because no one can really see what you can do. So I made sure that I had a portfolio of work before I started my photography business. I think I started back in around 2011. I think I officially started my business then. So I also tried to figure out what niche I wanted to specialize in, and this took a few years for me to realize what I wanted to do with photography and what I really wanted to earn money from. I did go between genres at times and tried a lot of different things out. a lot of genres didn't really interest me as much as fashion photography, and that was the one that really stood out to me. However, I knew, and I had been told at that time, that it was quite a competitive field, and earning money straight away from fashion photography potentially wasn't going to be realistic. So I did have to find other ways of earning money from that, but I'm going to talk about that more soon. I just wanted to let you guys know that I really did narrow down my niche before I started my business. I really narrowed down what I wanted to earn money from and what my business was going to be about. However, I didn't eliminate a lot of genres at this point. I did stick to doing similar types of photo shoots or similar types of genres as well, so I could diversify my income a little bit, as I knew that I wouldn't be able to earn a lot from fashion photography straight up. Like I said, I'm going to talk a bit more about that soon, but on to the nitty gritty again. So the second thing that I did after getting my ABN was I got my registered business name. And I needed to get a registered business name because in Australia you need to have a registered business name if you're not trading under your own name. So I am trading under my own name, but it's my middle name, and I still needed to register my business name as far as I was told and as far as I researched. I still had to get a business name for that. If I had have gone under my surname and just done it that way, it might have been a different story, but I really wanted to have a business name anyway because I felt like it encompassed everything, and at least it was legitimate then, and I knew it wasn't going to be an issue down the track, so I wanted to have my business name sorted from the start. I then also went to an accountant to find out my tax requirements. Now, for me personally in Australia at that point, where I wasn't earning a lot of money, I think we have to earn roughly around $18,000 before you start paying tax. So at that point, I was probably not earning that much. I really don't think I was. Maybe not even half that much. So in a year, it wasn't really something that I had to always think about, but it was something that I had to consider for future times when I was earning money. And knowing your tax obligations is a really important thing to find out first and foremost, because a lot of people do get stung, especially if their businesses take off very well in the first year. Like, it does happen. You want to know what you have to put aside. I then also got a website and domain name. That was really important too. Also, all of my social media handles, I wanted to make sure that I could get Kaylee June basically with everything in some form or another. So I did that first off, all my social media sites. So Instagram, Twitter, along with my DeviantArt, which I already had, Facebook. I made sure that I could get my name for my business on everything. So I kind of sorted that out first. I think it's important to do that and know that you can get your business name for those handles, because it makes it easier than doing it down the track when you realize that you can't actually get your business name for certain handles, or if your own name is taken, that's another matter altogether. I found that something kind of easy that you can get out of the way first off, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So in getting my website as well, it allowed me to have a professional platform where I could show my work, and I could basically send it to clients or potential people who were interested in contacting me. All my contact details would be on there. It was a very important thing for me starting out that I had something to show people, and my website was the way to go for that. I also, of course, organized my business insurance, and in terms of covering my equipment, and also public liability. Public liability is actually quite an important one, and a lot of places won't let you photograph. A lot of venues won't actually let you photograph there unless you have public liability insurance. And at that time, I took out the highest level because I was doing the odd wedding, and a lot of wedding venues in particular do not let you shoot there unless you've got your public liability insurance. So that's a really important thing to remember when you are starting your business. And obviously covering your equipment. I think for me, I would always think of the worst case scenario that was happening to my camera equipment or even my laptop, whatever it was. If something went down, then that's a lot of my income that was getting squashed. And obviously if I had to replace anything, that's even an even scarier thought. So I just wanted everything to be covered at the time, and that was something that I really wanted to get in place from the start. And I also created a lot of invoicing templates and receipt templates just to kind of get the details out of the way. Like, this stuff's all kind of well known in a sense, but a lot of people don't end up doing it until later down the track, and sometimes it's just best to organize this stuff first and foremost, get it out of the way, and you're organized, and then if you do get people approaching you for work, it feels easier, it feels a little bit more professional, and it's a really good way to start off your business in that sense. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how I started earning money from my business, and this is a really important question that I think a lot of people have as well, in terms of how do they earn money from their photography. So for me, when starting my business, obviously if you just start a business, do all the details, that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to earn money from what you're doing. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get clients swarming to you just because you've got an ABN and you've got a website and all the rest of it. So for me, like I said before, I had a portfolio already of a few years worth that I had worked on TFP photo shoots, collaborations. I had worked on these photo shoots for years with lots of different people, lots of different creatives, and I'd made a few contacts as well. So I had already started to become known on social media to an extent, and I'd built up a little bit of a presence, and I'd become known for photographing models in my area. So I then started to get quite a bit of inquiry about model portfolio shoots. And that's where I actually started to earn money. I started to offer those model portfolio shoots for around, I think at the time it was something like $60 an hour maybe. And I do probably like enough photos in an hour to cover that time and to cover the photo shoot. So I started doing those rates, and I would reduce them as well. I would make it more of a limited time thing, and it would encourage people to book a little bit more and to book quicker, so I could get a few more clients on board and I could start to earn a little bit of money and have more client work to show for myself. As I said before as well, I didn't eliminate a lot of genres at this time because I was still trying to earn money from my business. I still wanted to get my name out there in a lot of different ways. So I actually did things that were similar to model portfolio shoots as well. So I did actors headshots. That's a very similar kind of shoot that you can turn it into. They are quite simple portraits and with a massive focus on the eyes. So I'd already kind of been used to doing similar things with model portfolio shoots, and I started doing those as well and offering those for a price. I also just want to mention as well at this time that I didn't live off my photography income completely. There were times throughout my business where I tried doing it full time and it wasn't working for me. So I did need that part-time job on the side, or casual job, casual work, to help support my business. And this is probably something that a lot of you might face as you go through your journey with starting your business. You might find that doing it full time from the start isn't always an option, and it is quite difficult to get a lot of lucrative work straight off. So this is actually something that I did for a lot of years, so I don't want to skim past that point. I don't want to just make it seem like I started charging and I started getting all these photo shoots. It did take a lot of time for me to get to the point where I was doing it full time, quite a number of years. So I want to make sure that you guys know that as well, that I also did have casual work on the side, and it was a good way to help me support my business. Now I want to fast forward a little bit more to where I actually started charging more for my photo shoots and how I started to do that. So I think once I'd gotten enough clientele through doing the actors headshots and model portfolios, I also did a few couple shoots and a few weddings thrown in the mix when people had inquired about them to me. Once I'd started to get a little bit more clientele, I started to up my rates around every 6 months or so at that point. So depending on how many clients I was getting and how the prices were working, and you do tend to find that out quite quickly, whether people think your prices are too expensive in your area or whether they think that you're quite cheap and they will go with your rate. This is quite a hard thing to navigate at this time because it's hard to know what your work is worth, and you really have to scrutinize what you're charging and research. I think that's the most important point that I would put out there, is research what other people are charging in your area as well. And if you know that you've got a bit of experience behind you, you know that you've got a bit of portfolio work, and you know that you can be charging as much as some of the other people around in your area, then do so. I would definitely recommend doing that, but definitely do your research when it comes to that. When I started charging a little bit more as well, I started to offer more different types of tailored packages to people and became a little bit more specific with what I was doing, because by this point I'd started to become known for doing fashion, and fashion photography wasn't huge in my area at the time, but a lot of people had started to contact me, in particular models, for test shoots, paid test shoots, and even some agencies at that point had been contacting me. So I actually started contacting modeling agencies from this point and doing collaborations with them and their models as well, to gain more experience in that side of things and get more, I guess, professional models in my portfolio to show more clients out there, more brands, what I could do with that sort of work. So I was starting to make a little bit more contacts in terms of creatives and people in the industry, and that's when it starts to get a little bit more traction, and you do find that you're being asked about more in-depth jobs or more brand photo shoots, and you kind of expand a little bit in that sense. I then also began to organize different streams of revenue. Now, I've talked about this a little bit more on my channel beforehand, how I do actually have different revenue streams from what I'm doing, and I think that's quite important as a self-employed person. But even for someone who works full-time, I think it's so important to have different streams of revenue these days. So if one of those streams does go down, you know that you're going to be confident and comfortable in knowing that you've got other streams that are still going. So I've talked about this in previous videos, so you can go and watch that, go and check them out if you want. But I'll just quickly skim over some of the streams of revenue that I do have. So I obviously do beauty photography at the moment, and I do retouching. Retouching is another really important stream of income for me because it's something that I find is quite comfortable for me to do at home and from anywhere, realistically. So that's definitely something that I've held on to over the years. I think it helps supplement my income really nicely. And I've also moved into the social media sphere. So I have YouTube, obviously. I sell my own Photoshop presets. And those are things that you can always take into consideration when you're looking at your own business. Think outside of the box and don't always just rely on photo shoots for the income. Because I think it's nice to have a few different streams of revenue and to know that you can be a little bit more confident in your income. So that is basically how I started my photography business from the start, and then flowing down to today and fast forwarding to today and how my photography business actually looks. I'm now represented by a talent agency. I want to talk about this more in future videos of how this works and how you find an agent. It's not so much how you find an agent in a sense, it's how they find you a lot of the time, but I do want to talk about it more in future videos, so if you guys are interested, please let me know, and I will try and do some more videos on that. But basically, my agent does take care of a lot of my invoicing for me. She takes care of a lot of the harder emails that need to be sent or the pitching, and that really does help with my business. It's something that has been really welcomed into my business in the past year, and I actually find my agent really amazing. So I do want to talk about that more in future videos, and I will do that for you guys if you're interested. I'm also working full-time in my business now, which is amazing for me to say because it was something that I've talked about before, and I never really expected it to happen. Over my years, it became a really hard slog to kind of get everything together that I wanted to do, and to continue to do it full-time was a pretty scary thing at the time, especially when I was renting. But I do it full-time now, and I'm very, very grateful for that, and I'm glad that I kept going with it for all these years. I do have multiple streams of income, as I said before, and although I do have a specific niche these days of beauty photography, I do try to branch out where possible, and there's a few things that I'm looking at doing in the next year or so that might actually help even more with diversifying what I can do. I would actually like to do a little bit more product photography. I haven't really talked to you guys much about that, but I've been seeing a lot on Pinterest lately that's been getting me really inspired to do product photography, and it's just interesting to me, especially with doing beauty and makeup a lot of the time. I think it kind of goes hand in hand. So that's kind of my plans, I guess, for the future of my business. So I am still learning every day with my business, and I can tell you guys how I started my business, and it might be completely different for you guys. Everyone is different when they're starting out. I would say get the stuff that's really nitty-gritty out of the way first, because it makes it a lot easier down the track. Organize yourself as best you can. That's my advice for starting your own business, and I think things will flow a lot more freely once you've got the annoying stuff out of the way and the detailed technical stuff. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please click the subscribe button and the notification bell to see all the videos that I will have in future. Thank you guys again for watching, and if you're interested in looking at next insurance for your insurance policy, please click the link down in the description box below and let me know how you go with it. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye!